I'm going to start. I'm going to start now. I've chosen this week to do Capital Pay, or chapter 80, for anyone who wants to follow inside. This past week was my mother's birthday, and so her new capital is Pay, being that the shir is in her schus. I decided that we would learn this parak. Interestingly, it's a beautiful, beautiful parak of Tehillim, but doesn't get lots of, it doesn't get a lot of publicity. In other words, there are very few meforshim on it. Was quite a job to find the material, to understand, or to gain a little bit of understanding of this beautiful capital of Tehillim. So actually, what this capital Tehillim is, just in summary, it's talking about the various exiles. It discusses them in happiness and in sadness, and as it speaks about them, it reassures us that, or we reassure ourselves, if that's the right word, that Hashem will return to us. He will come back. The exile will come to an end. So we could actually divide this parak into three parts. The first part, up to Pasuk Daled, up to and including Pasuk Daled, talking about the exile of the 10 tribes, and ends with the words Elokim Hashivenu v'ha'er panecha v'nivashea. Hashem, return to us, show us your face, and save us. The next couple of psukim, talking about the Babylonian exile, and also ends with Pasuk Ches, Pasuk 8, with an almost identical pasuk which says, Elokim tzavakos hashivenu. Elokim, the God of hosts, return to us. V'ha'er panecha v'nivashea. Show us your face and save us. And then we have a whole lot long more psukim talking about our exile, and the capital ends with the words Hashem Elokim tzavakos, and then exactly the same as the previous two, Hashivenu, return to us, Ha'er panecha v'nivashea. Show us your face, and save us. So the three psukim talking about the end of the exile, almost identical. Take notice that the only thing that changes is really the name of Hashem. So in the first one, it just uses the name of Hashem Elokim, which means the name of judgment. And so talking about the first exile and saying, okay, Hashem, we've suffered enough. If you're doing your maths, it's time to take us out of exile. Elokim, God of judgment, God of truth, take us out of exile. Talking about the second exile, the time that from the Babylonian exile till the Purim story, and then when the Jews eventually were saved from that exile, adds the word Elokim Tzvaos, Hashem, and the name of Hashem, Tzvaos, which means God of the hosts, or God of many angels, and then asking him to save us. And so we want to understand a little bit why the addition of the name of Hashem, Tzvaos. So we're told that Tzvaos, whenever it speaks about Hashem as the God of the hosts, talking about all the angels and the different various angels in heaven. So it's alluding to the way that the world has to work. All different things have to work together in order for the world to work, right? So if everybody in the world and everything in the world did its own thing, there would be absolute and pure chaos. And the reason that the world works is because Hashem has made almost something mechanical happening, that every thing, whether it's an angel or a flower or a human or an animal, works in tandem. They work together to create the world that we know. And this is miraculous, beyond miraculous. Like, imagine if the sun decided to come up an hour later, or some angels decided to sing their songs 3 hours later, or some of us decided, something else. The world would be in complete chaos. And in order for the world to have any level of what we understand it as a world, there has to be a ruler, there has to be a God who says, this is when you work, and everybody has to follow that God. And so this is the next level, Elokim Tzavakos, God who is the God of all these various hosts. You've made this unbelievable miracle that everybody works together in order to create the world. You take us out of Galus, you take us out of exile, and let us be saved again. And then we talk about our exile, and our exile, this long-lasting exile that we're in. At the end of that, says the capital Tehillim, the very last pasuk, Hashem Elokim Tzavakos, introducing the new way we're going to get out of Galus. It might not be because everybody is working the way they're supposed to be, but Tzavakos. It probably won't be because of Elokim, because Hashem says, guys, you deserve it. You've done enough mitzvahs, you've suffered enough punishment. So it might not be because of that. But what will it be because of? The Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey name of Hashem, which is the ultimate mercy. So we ask Hashem that if even the only reason we deserve to be taken out of Galus, and if even the only reason we believe we will be taken out of Galus is because of the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, the kindness, that aspect of Hashem, which is pure chesed, pure kindness. So that's a little bit of introduction to the theme of the perek. Now we will look at the perek itself and understand it some more. So if you have a look at the first pasuk of the perek, Lam Natzech El Shoshanim, Eidus Asaf Mizmor. That's the introduction, introduction to the perek. So the first easiest thing to pick out over here is that it's a man called Asaf, who is the composer of this capital of Tehillim. Asaph was the son of Gershon, the grandson of Levi. He was the one who had the job of being the head of the choir, the conductor. He was in charge of all the music and everything that happened in the Beis HaMikdash. And he wrote about, I think, I should have checked, but I think it's 12 or 13 kapitlach of Tehillim. So whenever you see his name in the first line, Mizmar LaAsaf or LaAsaf Mizmar or whatever it is a chapter that is composed by Asaf. He begins or even before we get to that word, he calls this an Eidut. Eidut is a testimony. Simple way we translate it, testimony. And what is it a testimony to? This is a testimony to the fact that the Jews went through exile and that, please God, we will be saved. They were saved in the past, and please God, we will be saved in the future. The Evan Ezra says, no, Eidus is from the word edi, which means ornament, something beautiful. And it says that this is one of the most beautiful kapitlach of Tehillim. So now you go and have a look and you say, is it really? Is this the kapitel of Tehillim that shouts out to you that it's the most beautiful of all? It's talking some very harsh stuff where it speaks about the troubles, the tragedies, the difficulties that the Jews went through. Why is this called a beautiful capital of Tehillim? And the Medrash tells us the very, very famous Medrash that you probably have all heard at some time, but here it says that it's Asaph who said it. And Asaph said it is beautiful. You know what is beautiful? It's beautiful that when Hashem was angry with the Jewish people, he didn't destroy them, but he rather poured out his anger on wood and stones. He destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, and that is beautiful. It's beautiful because it gives us courage, it gives us hope, and it proves to us about our relationship with Hashem, that he will look after us always, always, and always. And so this is both a ornament, and when it says Eidus, and a testimony. It has both of those components in it. Going backwards, right, to the first words, Lam Natzeach El Shoshanim. So in simple terms, what is that? So Lam Natzeach, these are the instructions for the conductor. When this capital of Tehillim is said in the Beis HaMikdash, the conductor needs to know how to say it, when to say it, and which musical instruments to play with when it is being played, and says that this particular mizmor, when it's played in the Beit HaMikdash, should be played on an instrument called the shoshanim. The shoshanim was a round string instrument, and because of the way that the strings were strung, I think that's correct, it looked like rose petals, the whole instrument, and so it got the name, the shoshanim, the rose instrument. So that's simple understanding of the first three words. Lam Natzeach, Mr. Conductor, El Shoshanim. When you do the song in the temple, you use the Shoshanim, the instrument that looks like a rose. In lots of different places, particularly Shir Hashirim, the Jews are referred to as the Shoshanim, the rose. We are often called the rose among thorns. Often we are described as something beautiful in the middle of a thorn bush. A rose is actually, some roses are more fragile than others. Some are stronger than others. Some have a smell, some don't have a smell. But the rose is something that's beautiful in the middle of a bush, okay, in the middle of thorns. And that's always been the way of Shlomo HaMelech and David HaMelech to describe the Jewish people as the rose. And say the commentaries over here that these three words, Lamnatseach El Shoshanim, is the most fitting way to start a kapitel of Tehillim that's going to speak about the Golus. Because Lamnatseach doesn't only mean just for the conductor, but in the word Lamnatseach, we see the word Netzach, which means victory, Nitzachon, a victory. And it says Lamnatseach. Here we are talking about the victory al Shoshanim of the Jewish nation. The Jewish nation, who we're going to speak about now, went through the worst Golus, had the biggest troubles, are still suffering in Golus. We start off by knowing that there's an end. And what is that? Lamnatseach. We know we have a promise that we will be saved, that Mashiach will come, and that we will be taken out of Golus. So that's the introduction to this kapitel Tehillim by the kapitel Tehillim itself. Have a look at the words. Ra'eh Yisrael, shepherd of Israel, ha'azino, listen. Noheg katzon Yosef. As you lead the sheep like Yosef. So immediately here, the picture that we have of our relationship with Hashem is that of a shepherd and his sheep. And that is our relationship with Hashem. Hashem is our shepherd, and we are often called son. We are called the sheep. And what does that immediately bring into our minds? That we'll be taken care of. Hashem will look after us like a shepherd looks after his sheep. A good shepherd watches them all the time. He sees what each sheep needs. He protects them from the sun if it's too hot, and from the wolves if they're out there trying to get them. Makes sure that they have water. So a good shepherd is taking care of his sheep. But the Mefarshim tell us one step extra, which we don't always think about when we think of our relationship with Hashem as our shepherd, is that sheep don't question their shepherd. They don't say, why are we going out now? No, I don't feel like drinking water now. No, we don't want to go home now, right? Sheep do whatever the shepherd says. And in our relationship, where we want Hashem to look after us like a shepherd, what we actually have to know is that we have to be the sheep, right? We have to be the ones who do what Hashem says, involved completely in doing what Hashem says. And we make this request of Hashem, ha'azino, listen to us. It's probably one of our biggest requests of Hashem all the time. Ha'azino, listen to us, okay? Noheg katzon Yosef, and lead us like sheep of Yosef. The Mefarshim ask, why Yosef? Why suddenly we asking Hashem to lead us as though we were the sheep of Yosef? And says that Yosef was the brother who looked after his other brothers, even though they had done something so terrible to him. So you remember that Joseph was there in Egypt, and he was supplying his brother and his fathers with food. Otherwise, they would have all starved to death. And he could have very easily not given them anything. Okay, they had done such terrible things to him. They had sold him as a slave. And still, Joseph had no complaints against them. He sold them their food. He treated them however he decided they needed to be treated, but he looked after them despite what they had done to him. And this is what we're alluding to when we say to Hashem, Noheg katzon, treat us, your flock, Yosef, as though, like, remember Yosef in this. Even if we're not always doing what you like, Hashem, even if we're not always behaving the way you want us to, even if we've done things that possibly are bad, still, we are your sheep. Do as Yosef did for his brothers. Yosef hakruvim hafiyah, and return to your place on top of the kruvim. So we know that in the Beis HaMikdash, there was the one room called the Kodesh Kodashim, the Holy of Holies. In there was the Aron, and on the Aron were the two kruvim, the two cherubs, and from in between where the kruvim was the voice of Hashem. That was the special place, the Shechina of Hashem. That was the holiest place. By David HaMelech asking that Hashem should return to his holy place, teaches us that when the Jewish people are in Galus, Hashem is in Galus with them. When the Yidden are in crisis, Hashem comes out and he's there with us. And what are we asking him? Hashem, if you return, if you're able to put your Shekhinah back by the Kruvim, in the Kodesh Kodashim, in the Beis HaMikdash, then obviously that means we will too. Telling us that it's speaking specifically about the 10 tribes who were the first ones to go into exile is the next pasuk, Lifnei Ephraim, Binyamin, Manasseh. Eirera is Gurasecha. Okay, before Ephraim and Binyamin and Manasseh, wake up, awaken your strength, Ulachat Lishua Salanu, and go to save us. As we come to the pasuk which I mentioned earlier, Elokim Hashivenu, Hashem, come back to us, show us your face and save us. So there are two different ways that we can get close to Hashem. Either Hashem can come near to us, or we can go near to Hashem, right? So definitely the easier way for us is if Hashem comes close to us. And this is what Asaf, David HaMelech are alluding to over here, Hashivenu. Hashem, come close to us. You come close to us. Show us that you're around. Show us that you care about us. Inspire us, motivate us. That's a good way. That's a nice way for the Geula to come, much easier than us having to take the first step. And explains the Asaf, David HaMelech, show us your face and save us. Because one of the biggest challenges of Galus is that we don't see Hashem. When we don't see Hashem evidently around us, when we don't see godliness, that's when we struggle. Sorry. That's when that's when we struggle with Hashem, when there are just things happening in the world that we can't understand, when it's difficult for us, when we can't make sense of things that are going on, we don't see God around us, that's when we struggle in Galus. When Hashem is evident, when we know that Hashem is there, when we feel Hashem's presence, Galus is not so bad, right? We feel like we're being saved. It's okay, we've got God with us, okay, and we're on the way to Mashiach. So we ask Hashem the two parts, Ha'er panecha, show us your face, so even while we're still in Galus, we want to be able to see you in Galus, v'nivasheya, because we know that that's going to lead us to be actually saved. So that's the first part of the capital of Tehillim, which was alluding mostly to the 10 tribes. They were the first ones to go into Galus, and the plea that Hashem should listen to us, he should take them out of Galus, he should show us his face, and he should save us. Then it goes on to speak or to hint to the Jews at the time of the destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash, the Babylonian exile with Nebuchadnezzar. So it says, Hashem Elokim tzavakos, calling on God, Adamasai ashanta b'tfilas hamecha. How long are you still going to be angry and not accept the prayers of your people? So this is one of our biggest questions always. Hashem, how long? Okay, how long are you going to be angry? We've eaten bread of tears, and you've given us to drink enough tears, a good measure of tears. And this is Galus, when we feel that say the commentaries that all we want to eat is bread, which will keep us alive. Mitzvah says that when people are sad, they eat just enough to keep them alive, and tears. We cry so much that we're drinking tears, so to speak. It's interesting the wording that's used over here, bidma'is shalish, which translates as a measure of tears. But the word shalish, probably when you looked at it the first time, what jumped out at you is the word shalosh, which is 3. And the commentaries tell us, I think it's a fascinating, beautiful medrash that says that when Esav realized that Yaakov had stolen the brachos from him. Okay, so if you remember the story, Yitzchak sends Esav to go and cook him some food, to hunt and cook him a beautiful meal. In the meantime, Rivka gets wind of this. She gets Yaakov to come in, serve and to serve Yitzchak the meal, and Yitzchak gives Yaakov the brachas. And Esav comes in at the end of all of that and suddenly realizes that he lost. He didn't get he didn't get the brachas. And it says he cried 3 tears. What do you mean he cried 3 tears? He had 3 moments of feeling that he like sincerely felt sad. His whole heartbreak, if you want to say, was 3 tears. And then after that, he was getting on with his life. Because of that, those 3 intense tears that he felt as a result of losing the brachas, Hashem said the Jews will suffer. They'll suffer under Esav to make up for the 3 tears of pain that he had. And this is what we're alluding to in this pasuk is Hashem, how much compensation does Esav need for those 3 tears? We've cried enough because of those 3 tears. Continues to explain the sadness of their exile. You made us a blame for our neighbors, and our enemies mock us. So saying exactly what we all know, Jews always get the blame. Okay, it's always Israel's fault, right? It's always Jewish people's fault, no matter what. And our enemies mock us. They make fun of us. And so again, the plea, pasuk ches, Elokim tzva'os hashivenu. Please Hashem, return to us for panecha v'nivasheya. And that brings us to the time of the second Beis HaMikdash, the end of the Babylonian exile. And now starting to explain our exile, the long Roman exile, the galus that we are in till now, and we are waiting for it to be ended. And says first a little bit of history. Gefen mitzrayim tasiyah, a vine from Egypt you moved. To Goresh goyim v'tito'er, you chased nations and you planted it. So referring over here to the Jewish people as a vine. We are often referred to as a vine. A lot of reasons are brought for why we are referred to as a vine. In lots of different learning places, also we are called a vine. Gefen Poria, a vine that reproduces. All different places where we are referred to as a vine. Why are we called a vine? What is great about a vine? So one of the midrashim say something I found quite interesting. It says that a vine, and talking obviously about a grapevine, can be replanted if it isn't growing nicely somewhere. I'm not a gardener. I've never tried this, but a vine can be moved from, if a person knows what they're doing, a vine can be moved to a different place. And this has always been the greatness of Yidden, that when things were not going well in Europe, then could be replanted in America, or wherever. That one of the things that has kept us during Galus is the fact that as Jews we can be replanted. We are a vine. What is the other interesting thing about vines? So vines need to have a support. Vines can't just grow by themselves. They have to be on a trellis, or they have to have a pole, or they have to have some kind of support. In order for us to survive, in order for us to flourish, we have to have the right support. We have to have a proper support, Torah, mitzvahs, teachers, mentors, rabbis, whatever it is that we need in order to support us in our keeping of Torah Yiddishkeit. A vine, like just as a vine. Another interesting thing about vines is that the fruit that they produce on the same vine can be sweet and sour. Okay, you could have the same vine take off a bunch of grapes that are beautiful and another bunch of grapes that are not so good. They're all part of the same. They're all part of the same vine. And it says that this is Yidden in 2 different ways. Firstly, they're all kinds of Jews, but we're all part of the vine. So whether we're sweet or we're not, we part of the vine. There's no difference. And more than that, it's talking about our history, our lives. There will be times that it will be sweet, and there will be times that will be sour. It's all part of the same vine. A vine is also great in that it's the only thing that has two brachas for the same thing that grows on it. In other words, if you eat grapes just so, you make the bracha of Borei Pri Ha'etz. And if you eat grapes that have been squeezed, have been crushed, then you make the bracha Borei Pri HaGofen. It's the only thing like that. Also, it's one of the Shiva Minim. It's one of the seven kinds. Also, it says every single phase of life in Yiddishkeit is blessed by wine, right? Whether it's Shabbos or the week, okay, Havdalah, whether it's a wedding or a bris, whatever it is, all the different phases of life are praised or are blessed by with a cup of wine. So I think that a lot of like these things, you can see how we could take that and show it as the Yidden, right? That we have, that we get these qualities that why we can be compared to a geffen, to a vine. Geffen, it says also about wine and the things that we learn from the wine, that firstly we need to be squeezed in order to bring out the best in us. Not always to be crushed, but definitely to be squeezed, to be pushed. We can't just sit and expect that we are going to become great. In order for this squeezed wine to become, or the squeezed grape juice to become great, it has to be kept in something simple. If you keep wine in a clay pot, it's not, that's how it's going to be okay. If you put the grape juice into a gold vessel, most likely it's going to be off by the next week. It's going to be sour and spoiled. So say the commentaries that in order to progress, in order to make ourselves greater, we have to stay simple. We have to stay in a wooden, clay, simple materials. That's where we're going to get better and better and better. If we become arrogant, we move into our gold pot, then we will become spoiled, and we will not become great. Also, we are told that one of the ways that we can tell about the personality of another human being is about how they behave when they take wine, when they get drunk simply, but when they have a lot of wine. So whenever I talk to girls who are going on shidduch dates, I always tell them this medrash, this story. It says that there are three ways that you can tell about a person: bekisai, bekasai, or bekaisai. So you can tell about a person bekisai according to what they do with their money. Are they cheap? Are they over extravagant? Are they careful? Okay, by watching how they spend their money, we can tell a lot about their personality. Bekasai, with their anger, how do they behave when something makes them cross? I always say to the girls, like, watch out for road rage. Okay, know a lot about him. And then the third one, and the one that here applies to here, the geffen, watch how he behaves when he's had a little bit to drink. So firstly and most obviously, if someone's on a date and they get drunk, then run for your life. But generally, if they are just having a drink and they become more relaxed, how do they behave as a result of the geffen, of the case of the cup that they've imbibed? So here, this pasuk over here is talking about the Yidden who are, Hashem moved us, geffen and Mitzrayim tasir. Hashem took a whole nation, a whole vine from Egypt, and he replanted us in Israel. How did he do that? To Garish Goyim, he chased away the nations who were there, but Titoeha, and he planted us in Israel. Pinisa lefaneha v'tarshesh resheha, you cleaned out before her, you rooted her roots, v'tamale aretz, and you filled up the land. Kasu harim tzila, you covered mountains, v'anfeya arze'el, and you made her shadows come from the great cedars. Teshalach ketzireha ad yam, you made the borders all the way to the sea, El Nahar Yankiseha, and to the rivers, her edges. So this is all talking about the greatness of how Hashem took us from Egypt And against all odds, he replanted us in Eretz Israel, alluding over here also to the fact that the borders of Israel were much, much bigger then than anyone gives credit for now. From one side of the sea to the other side of the sea, that was all called Israel. And then what happened? Lama paratzta gedareha. Why did you break down her fences? Okay, in other words, comes Golus, okay, comes exile, comes in the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Why, Hashem, did you break down her fences? And you let anyone who goes past pluck from her things. You allowed a pig from the forest to overcome her. Viziz sadai yir'ena, and the animals of the fields you gave to pasture. So now talking about the Galus, obviously that Hashem let Esav in. Esav is often compared to a pig, as here again in this capital. A pig always cheats, makes us think, or tries to make us think that he's kosher by sticking out his foot, which has the kosher sign on it, the split hooves, but he doesn't chew his cud. He doesn't chew his cud over and over. And that's Esav, right? That, look, I'm kosher, but doesn't really think things through. Okay, chewing one's cud is the picture of thinking about one's actions. And so this is what Hashem allowed. He broke down our fences and he allowed Esav to come in and destroy us. Hashem, please return. Look from the heavens and see. Remember this vine, and replant, okay, that which your right hand planted, the son that you made strong for you. So it's asking Hashem to look down, see what's happened to the Jewish people, and replant us, so to speak. An interesting use of the words "v'chana asher nata yeminecha," and replant that which your right hand planted. The right side is always symbolic of kindness. Chesed. Chesed is our right, and Gevurah the left. So we're asking Hashem. We're not asking you to replant us because we think we deserve it. And we're not asking you just for any other reason except pure kindness. Asher nata yeminecha, your right hand, your kindness is what made us strong in the first place. Make us strong again. Have a look and see. Srufa ba'esh kesucha. The Yidden are burnt by fire. Migaras panecha yovedu. And your angry shout has made them perish. So there's two things that have caused us trouble during the time that we're in Galus. It's the Esav, right, who's trying to destroy us, who's burning us down, so to speak. And then there's Hashem's anger that's also making us perish. With our big request, Tehi yadcha al ish yeminecha, please put your hand on the man that comes from your right side. In other words, bring Mashiach. Al bein Adam imatzdarlach, the man who you have strengthened, okay, for us. And take notice that when we speak about Mashiach, we are speaking Ben Adam, the son of a man, in other words, a human being who Hashem has strengthened and made ready to be Mashiach for us. Mimeka, make a promise that once Mashiach comes, we will not turn back from you, we will not withdraw from you. Techayenu, make us live with a Shimcha Nikra, and then in your name we will call out. And the capital ends, Hashem Elokim Tzavakos, Hashem, God of the hosts, Hashivenu, please return to us. Ha'er panecha, show us your face, v'nivasheya, and save us. And that is the capital 80, the acknowledgement of exile, the acknowledgement of the difficult times that we'll go through, but the promise, the pleading and the promise and the hope that Hashem will show himself to us, that he will save us. And that's why, as we said before, the capital begins with the words Lam Natsayach. We trust, even as we're about to tell you about the exile and the difficulties, that we will be victorious, that we will have Mashiach. And that brings us to the end of this capital. Thank you. You can unmute if you want.
Thank you, Rifki.
Thanks, Rifki.
Thank you, Rifki. It was wonderful.
Thank you.